Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today we're diving into the world of military tech. It's a wild one, full of secrets, spies, and some serious firepower. But what happens when countries start copying each other's homework? In the world of weapons, it's a whole different ball game. Nations have been locked in an arms race, constantly trying to outdo each other. Sometimes the best way to get ahead is to borrow a page from your enemy's playbook. It's like stealing the secret recipe for Coca-Cola. Why reinvent the wheel when you can just, copy it? The history of warfare is littered with examples of weaponized inspiration. It's a fascinating and complex issue, with huge implications for global security. So buckle up because we're about to explore the world of military copycats and the impact of their borrowed brilliance. Let's rewind the clock a bit. Think back to the ancient world where warfare was up close and personal. Back then, it was all about swords, shields, and chariots. And guess what? Even then, people were copying each other's ideas. Take the Roman gladius, for example. This short, deadly sword was a game-changer on the battlefield. It was so effective that other armies, like the Gauls and the Britons, started making their own versions. They saw how well it worked for the Romans and figured, hey, why not? Another classic example is the stirrup. This simple invention, which originated in Asia, revolutionized horseback riding and warfare. It gave riders more stability and control, making them deadlier in combat. It wasn't long before the stirrup spread across the globe, adopted by armies from Europe to the Middle East. These early examples show that copying weapons is nothing new. It's a tale as old as time itself. When it comes to survival, all's fair in love and war, right? If something works, you use it. And if you can copy it, even better. Fast forward to the 20th century, and we see this trend continue with even more advanced weaponry. One of the most iconic examples is the AK-47 assault rifle. Designed by Mikhail Kalashnikov in the Soviet Union, this weapon became the poster child for reliability and simplicity. The AK-47 was cheap to produce, easy to use, and incredibly durable. It could withstand the harshest conditions, from the jungles of Vietnam to the deserts of the Middle East. And guess what? Everyone wanted their hands on one. Soon, the AK-47 and its variants were being produced all over the world, from China to Eastern Europe to Africa. It became the weapon of choice for armies, rebels, and even criminals. It was everywhere. The AK-47's global popularity is a testament to its effectiveness. But it also highlights how easily weapon designs can spread, especially in a world driven by conflict and the arms trade. Now, let's talk about the big one: nuclear weapons. This is where things get really serious. The development of the atomic bomb by the United States during World War II changed the world forever. Suddenly, we had a weapon capable of unimaginable destruction, and guess what happened? Other countries took notice. The Soviet Union, not wanting to be left behind, developed its own atomic bomb just a few years later. Then came the United Kingdom, France, and China. It became a nuclear arms race. The spread of nuclear weapons is a chilling example of how quickly dangerous technology can proliferate. It's a stark reminder of the stakes involved in military copying. This isn't just about having the biggest gun, it's about the potential to wipe out entire cities, even countries. The fear of mutually assured destruction has kept the world from blowing itself up so far. But the more countries that have these weapons, the more dangerous the situation becomes. It's a high-stakes game of chess, and the consequences of a mistake are unthinkable. Section 5. The allure of reverse engineering. So, why do countries copy weapon designs? Well, there are a few reasons. One is the simple fact that it's often easier and cheaper to copy something than to start from scratch. Reverse engineering, taking something apart to figure out how it works, is a time-honored tradition in the world of espionage and technological development. Think of it like baking a cake. You could spend years experimenting with different ingredients and ratios, trying to come up with the perfect recipe. Or you could just get your hands on grandma's secret recipe and call it a day. That's what reverse engineering is all about. It's about taking a shortcut, saving time and resources by learning from someone else's success. And in the world of military technology, where the stakes are high and the pressure is on, it's a tempting proposition. Of course, reverse engineering isn't always easy. It requires a high level of technical expertise and can still be incredibly challenging, but it's often more appealing than starting from zero, especially when you're dealing with complex technologies like jet fighters or missiles. Section 6. Economic factors: cost-effective warfare. Another major factor driving weapon copying is economics. Developing new military technology is incredibly expensive. It requires massive investments in research, development, testing, and production. Not every country can afford that, especially developing nations with limited budgets. Copying existing designs, on the other hand, can be a more cost-effective way to bolster a country's defenses. It's like buying a used car instead of a brand new one. You might not get all the bells and whistles, but you're getting a more affordable option that still gets you from point A to point B. This is especially true for countries that are trying to catch up to more technologically advanced adversaries. By copying existing designs, they can try to level the playing field without breaking the bank. It's a classic case of working smarter, not harder. Why spend billions of dollars on developing a new fighter jet when you can copy an existing design for a fraction of the cost? It's a no-brainer for countries with limited resources. Section 7. Leveling the playing field, closing the technological gap. This leads us to another key reason for weapon copying: closing the technological gap. In a world where military power is often seen as a zero-sum game, countries are constantly striving to gain an edge over their rivals. And for nations that are lagging behind technologically, copying can be a way to bridge the gap. By acquiring and reverse engineering advanced weaponry, these countries can try to level the playing field and deter potential aggressors. It's a way of saying, we may not have invented this technology, but we have it now, so don't mess with us. This is particularly relevant in regions with historical tensions and ongoing conflicts. When one country makes a significant military advancement, its neighbors often feel compelled to keep up, even if it means resorting to copying. It's a dangerous cycle, but one that's difficult to break. As long as countries feel threatened and insecure, they'll continue to seek ways to enhance their military capabilities, even if it means borrowing ideas from others. Section 8. Stifling innovation, the downside of copying. But it's not all about catching up. Copying can also have negative consequences, both for individual countries and for global security as a whole. One of the biggest concerns is that it can stifle innovation. If countries become too reliant on copying, they may be less likely to invest in their own research and development. This can lead to stagnation and a lack of progress in military technology. It's like relying on cheat codes in a video game. You might win in the short term, but you're not developing your own skills. Moreover, copying can create a false sense of security. Just because a country has acquired a copycat weapon doesn't mean it fully understands the technology or how to use it effectively. This can lead to overconfidence and miscalculations, potentially escalating conflicts rather than deterring them. It's a delicate balance. While copying can help countries catch up in the short term, it's crucial to foster a culture of innovation and self-reliance in the long run. Otherwise, they risk becoming perpetually dependent on others for their security. Section 9. Ethical considerations, blurred lines of ownership. Beyond the practical implications, there are also ethical considerations surrounding weapon copying. Intellectual property rights are a complex issue, and the lines can become blurred when it comes to military technology. On the one hand, countries that invest heavily in research and development argue that they have a right to protect their inventions from being copied. After all, they've poured time, money, and expertise into creating these technologies. On the other hand, proponents of copying argue that it can help level the playing field and prevent monopolies on military power. They argue that access to advanced weaponry shouldn't be limited to a select few wealthy nations. It's a thorny issue with no easy answers. There's a fine line between legitimate inspiration and outright theft, and where that line falls often depends on who you ask. Section 10. Maintaining a technological edge, the need for originality. So where do we go from here? Is weapon copying beneficial or harmful for global security? It's a complex question. Copying can level the playing field and deter aggression. It gives less developed nations a fighting chance. But it can stifle innovation and raise ethical concerns. It can lead to arms races. The key is balance. Invest in research and development. The future of warfare will be shaped by innovation. Stay ahead with new technologies and strategies. Section 11. Conclusion. A world of shared arsenal. The world of military technology is full of copycats. From ancient swords to modern jets, countries borrow and adapt designs. It's driven by economics, security, and the desire to gain an edge. It can level the playing field but also stifle innovation. Is it good or bad? It's complicated. There's no easy answer. It depends on context and intentions. As long as there are conflicts, there will be attempts to copy effective weapons. It's a game of cat and mouse likely to continue. Next time you see a new weapon, take a closer look. Imitation is a powerful tool for survival. Stay vigilant.